Thank you for checking out this episode of CTRL ALT STORY, a podcast where I have conversations with people who work in and with technology, go through their career journeys, dive into career advice, and even share some fun stories along the way. My name is Josh Spurgeon, and I'm a watsonx technical specialist at IBM. I can also be found under the name DataNerdJosh on various social media platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. All right, my guest today is Muta Chaudhry. He is a data and AI technical specialist here at IBM. We're actually on the same team. We've worked together for 6-7 months now, feels longer. We've become pretty good friends, pretty good homies in that time. Obviously, I want to let him tell a little bit more about his role, but want to give that introduction. Before that, I'm just going to interject and say, like I said, we've been working together for pretty much all of 2024. I joined this team early on in 2024, and then things got shifted around, so we met around that time. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I've really enjoyed working with you. Thank you. You're a fantastic dude. You're very, I don't know, it's like you have a problem, you have great ways to solve it. You're very efficient, and I really appreciate that. We've been able to work on some teams together. We could probably talk about that later, but yeah, I just want to give you that shout out first, but let you introduce yourself and your current role, what you do.
No, I appreciate that, man. Very flattering. You're the celebrity who brought me onto the show, so I don't know why you're hyping me up so much. But no, I appreciate you having me, man. Especially this is going to be the first one. Am I correct?
One of the first one. I'm not sure the exact release order is first, second, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's going to be video proof that I was in your corner before you got your first Emmy. So just remember that.
There we go.
I appreciate you having me here, man. Like you said, I've been working with Josh since the beginning of this year. I got on the data and AI portfolio last year. He's a watsonx SME. watsonx is kind of our AI suite of products that sits on top of our data and AI portfolio. I kind of support everything below and what's on top. And then Josh is kind of the subject matter expert for what's on top. So we get to see each other a lot. We work on a lot of similar products. Like he said, I'm a data and AI technical specialist. I've been a technical specialist at IBM for 4.5 years. Before I get into what we do day to day, just to give you a little background, before IBM, I served in the National Guard. I worked at State Farm and also went to school at Georgia State. I got my undergrad in computer information systems. And when I graduated, I kind of wanted to find something that was, still like many other kids out there getting degrees. You may have the degree, you may even be going through school right now and not really know what you want to do. I was in the same boat, didn't really know what I wanted. But a friend of mine who helped me get the job at State Farm, shout out Ahmed Tanvir, is also the same person who gave me a referral to this job. He's like, hey, man, you're very technical. You're very competitive. And on top of that, you got the sales experience. This job's for you. I applied, got denied. But then I was told I wasn't technical enough. So I went to Georgia Tech, got a full stack web development certification, made a bunch of stuff. I always tell people, best way to get into tech is to build. So you can show people what you built. And Georgia Tech gave me that opportunity. And that helped me really solidify myself as a strong candidate for global sales school at IBM. I got accepted, and it's all she wrote from there. I was originally assigned to the automation portfolio. I was in it for about 1.5 years for the federal market, working with large government clients, 3-letter agencies. And then I served integration portfolio, which is kind of, you could think the API side of things, the App Connect side of things, enterprise messaging. I did that in the 2 squads we're in today, squad 21, 22. I know, Josh, you support a lot of other squads, and we're not going to get into squads. We'll keep it kind of generic. But I got switched to the data and AI role last year just because I have a huge, huge passion for generative AI outside of work. I started really using it in my day-to-day life and started learning a lot about our competitors' products, a lot about what's out there cutting edge. And I think that really helped me make a strong argument to support the data and AI portfolio. And that's where we are today. Sorry, Josh, I'll talk, man. You got to cut me off sometimes.
No, it's all good. No, this is your show. Yeah. So, for your current role, let's just kind of go a little bit deeper. So what are, just for anyone listening, what are the actual kind of products that fall under your portfolio? I mean, obviously there is pieces of watsonx in there, but, give us some examples of some of from a product perspective, what you support today.
Sure. So let's say data and AI at IBM is broken into 4 main pillars, right? There's a Gen AI pillar. There's the HDM pillar, hybrid data management. There's the data science and governance pillar, and then the AI apps pillar. Okay. I support everything except AI apps. AI apps are your chatbots. They're your Cognos analytics, planning analytics. Josh, you know a lot about this. You worked with this for years. I support more of the governance, data science products. Think ETL tools. Data Stage is a big ETL tool we use. Think data lineage, data observability products. That's what mostly in the data science, and also just cataloging products like our IBM Knowledge Catalog. That's more of the data science governance pillar. On the HDM side, this is a portfolio I just got recently added to. I'm now supporting products like DB2, which is a big product of ours, been around for a long time. A lot of strong customers in that area, and Netezza. Still getting familiarized with this, but those are some of the products there. Think basically databases and data lake houses. A lot on the landing zone of where you actually ingest the data and how you manage it. And then, of course, the generative AI portion, watsonx. My favorite, watsonx.ai. I also support that part of the portfolio as well.
And for those who are listening who may be kind of confused, because, here at IBM, we have all of our terminologies, they don't work here, right? They don't know everything. So, your title is data and AI, which we know what that is, technical specialist. We also have just the sales specialist or specialist. So do you care to kind of, from your perspective, kind of break down the difference for anyone to kind of see what that relationship, I mean, that's something that I have going on as well. We all do that, but I just kind of see if you want to break that down for anyone listening who may not be familiar.
Absolutely. So, sales, there's a full sales cycle, right? We have it all the way from engage to actually deploying the product. We're in pre-sales roles as technical specialists at IBM. So we're going to have the initial conversation. We're going to actually, before we even have the initial conversation, we're going to go find the client. We're going to help with prospecting. We're going to engage with clients. We're going to host workshops, POTs, which is proof of technologies or proof of concepts. This is typically where we have some sort of lab environment. We're showing off IBM tech. We invite old people over for free, have something like Topgolf, have some sort of dinner. Really client facing, and the initial client interaction is in our hands. Now we work as a technical specialist, so pre-sales part, right? We're in the beginning of the deal. As a technical specialist versus a sales specialist, the sales specialist is more of an account executive, right? They're on the account management side. They're going to do a lot more of, I like to say, some of the more relationship building, right? And also a lot of the numbers. When it comes to dollar signs, getting the discounts and actually getting a proposal in front of them, that's something that the sales specialist is going to outline. They're going to work very closely with building relationships and keeping these relationships, right? For me, on the technical side, while he's owning these relationships, I come in and own the product. And I'm coming in and really reaffirming, understanding the client's business, but also keeping in mind, back in my mind, the IBM solutions that I have at hand, and knowing them well enough from a technical perspective to apply it to their business, right? To show them business value. So I like to say I'm a storyteller. I translate complex technologies into actionable business value. That's my bridge gap. The gap that I bridge. Excuse me.
Would you say that that relationship between technical seller and seller, you're the steak, they're the sizzle? You think that'd be fair? You're kind of the meat of the product, and they're more of that customer facing, building those relationships.
He's a quarterback. I'm the running back. Like we're very close together. We're constantly on calls together. Most calls we're going to take together. If there's something specific to account management, he's going to do it. If it's something specific to building like a technical demo asset or putting together a workshop, I'm going to handle that portion, right? But when we're in front of clients, we're always there together. When we're on client calls, we're always there together. We're attached by the hip. And everything when it goes to client technical strategy, account management strategy, we're always there together, right? QBRs, you're very familiar with them. These are our quarterly breakdown reviews. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Business review, maybe.
Business review, sorry.
I think I could be wrong.
I mean, it's basically
I just show up.
Yeah, that's easy for us because the sales specialists have to run that. But it's basically like, what's your plan for the quarter, right? And we meet once every quarter at the beginning of the quarter together, and we kind of lay out our plan here. Here's the technical strategy. Here's kind of the numbers we got to meet. How do we bridge that gap, and how do we do it together? And how do we do it while making a lot of money? I mean, at the end of the day, sales is one of the things that I love most about sales is you have control over how much money you take at home at the end of the day, right? If you work harder and you're willing to put in the extra time, there is a tangible award that you can get, which is beating your quota, right? And it is a little cutthroat world because if you don't meet your quota, we also have stuff like PIT, right? And that's where you're going to be like
performance improvement plan.
There you go. Yeah. Basically, you don't meet your quota, you're going to be put on a PIP. If you don't meet your quota while you're on PIP, you're out.
And for those listening, that's not like an IBM thing. That's
Yeah,
That's the technical sales world, or even just sales, software sales in general. Yeah. So that's nothing that's so I don't want anyone to hear this and think, man, those people are doing crazy things.
No, it's a glorious world. I mean, I love sales. I love the environment, but it's competitive, and you should know what you're getting into. A lot of people think you could just come in and start killing it in sales day one. No, it takes a lot of hard work to really be a top performer in sales.
For me personally, I've only been at IBM for barely over a year, and I did not have a sales background, so I came into this without any sales background at all. I mean, I guess the only sales background I would have would be going to flea markets and yard sales and negotiating a better price on video games or whatever it was I was trying to buy. So it's honestly been an eye-opening experience for me. I mean, there's some stuff you're like walking into, you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But other stuff I'm like, oh yeah, I had no clue. So It's definitely different. But I know you said you had a little bit more sales background than I did, so it probably helped you out there.
For me, it was B2C. So I was talking to clients on the phone at State Farm, selling them insurance, property, and casualty, right? But what really helped me in sales, I mean, I have to go all the way back to high school. I had a teacher, Mr. Dutton, and he was my debate coach.
Shout out Mr. Dutton.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Dutton, Dave Dutton. I learned more from this man and this teacher than any other professor or teacher in my life, and I owe him a lot because he taught me how to speak, right? Public speaking, confidence. I was on the debate team, on the speech team. He was my theater teacher. He was my English teacher. And, after everything, I can't really do the math as well as some of these Gen AI models, but I can write, right? And I think I really owe it to him for my communication skills. And I think it was that level of confidence that I built in high school through those courses really translated a lot more into my professional career than any baseline education, right? And it really allowed me to just show up and be able to kind of have the confidence to present and run myself in any room. And honestly, half of sales is that, right? Is confidence. If you can't take a no and understand objection handling, if you can't speak with confidence in your product, if you don't care about your customer, you're not going to be able to do sales. And I think that backbone of communication is what really helped me be successful in sales, but drove me to sales as well. But for you, man, you're a creative guy. That's what it is. I think people who come from non-sales background, if you're trying to make it especially at an enterprise level, a large corporation, if you're trying to make it in a room where these people all have 30 years on you in sales, okay, you're not going to go in and lead the deal, right? So you better find those holes to plug and plug it with ways that people haven't plugged in before. And Josh, you do a great way of doing this, right? You'll find ways to prospect people haven't prospect. You'll find ways to create technical content no one has. And it does. At the end of the day, no one looks at Josh as like, oh, he's new to sales. It's like, no, this is a really creative subject matter expert. And I mean that it just comes to show you can build your brand in a lot of different ways.
Right. Yeah, I think for me personally, the way that I kind of approach things is more trying to focus on the creativity, trying to focus on. If I'm in a room with someone or meeting virtually with someone, I want to make sure this person enjoys me. They enjoy this relationship we're building. They enjoy the conversation. Maybe I'm going to throw in some jokes. We're having a good time. It's not all just sales. Let me throw this product down your throat. We're not, we don't even want to talk about products. We want to talk about how can we help you, right? How can we solve your problem? And I think that's kind of my approach to it. I don't know if that's always the best approach. If someone gets into objection handling, I don't think I would necessarily handle it the best because there may be some things that I don't know that I should know about the product or maybe the overall architecture. But I think, I feel like people often enjoy talking to me. They're like, oh, that's the funny guy. I remember that. And I know we actually have presentations together at a Watson X Roadshow event in North Carolina a couple of months ago. And some feedback I heard, someone was like, I like that funny guy. And they're talking about me. They're like, they didn't say like, oh, he knew this technical stuff the best. It was just like, oh, he had a compelling presentation, like that was kind of the feedback I had. And, and like I said, you presented at that as well. And honestly knocked it out of the park. I know that you came into that, obviously you had prepared, but you did a lot of work prior to that roadshow, morning of like really refining what you were going to present on. And you were talking to me before that and you were kind of like, yeah, man, I gotta figure this out. I gotta make sure I get it. And I was like, I knew you could do it, but then you get up there and I'm like, oh dude, he's doing it. He did, it was a fantastic presentation. And, we had a little bit of time constraint where you had to kind of squeeze it into a shorter timeline than was anticipated. So you're able to pivot. And I think that's key as well, is knowing when to pivot. Because I think some people in sales or technical sales, it's like, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to go over these 55 slides, whether you like it or not. I'm not going to fill the room. I'm not going to look at the clock. I have 55 slides and you're going to see them whether you want to or not. But I think that ability to pivot, which is what you had shown that day, is key. You're like, hey, I got this material. Because of, some things ran long, we got to squeeze that down. And I think that's absolutely key too.
No, I appreciate that. And honestly, it goes back to that debate stuff, right? But talking about leaning into your strengths, presenting, being in front of clients, I love doing that. And it's one of my strengths, and I lean into it right now. As you know, we got so many engagements going on. We've had many events, but that's also the day of life in the tech seller, right? We're probably doing a demo a week, an event a month, and you're constantly on the road talking to people. And I appreciate that, man. That was a good one. That was that What's Next AI is for Business and RTP. If you missed it, remember, guys, we host events in Raleigh all the time, free to anyone. So come eat and drink on us. And, you might learn something new about AI.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to have an event, wants to have a workshop, they can always reach out and we'll figure something out. And it doesn't have to just be one company or one team. We could make it as big or as small as you want.
Absolutely.
I do want to, for just a second, I do want to share before I forget about this, and I'm checking because I have some notes because I want to make sure I remember the things that I'm going to ask you. So I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys, 6-year-old, 4-year-old. I've been trying to tell them about what I'm going to do. Like, hey, Daddy's going to have this podcast. They don't know what a podcast is. Daddy's going to have a podcast. I'm going to interview people. I'm going to ask them questions. And so my oldest son, like I said, he's 6, almost 7. He has questions that he has asked me to ask you. So okay. I gave him a little bit of information about you, described a little bit of thing, and then I said, all right, what question do you want me to ask him? So there's no basis for this other than this is what came from his kid brain. So
I love it.
Yeah. So and for the record, this is all on the spot. He has no idea what I'm going to ask him. So his question is, what is your house like? What color is it? And does it have bricks?
Wow. Great question. Because, you got to know how a man's living to really know him. I actually, right now, I'm at my parents' house. So full circle. I got married last year. We just secured a place down in Florida, and I'm actually moving in 2 weeks. So the new house is in a high rise. So it's a little different than what I have now. It doesn't have brick. It's all glass. This house that I'm in right now, it is a beige house with a red brick at the front, to answer your question. And You are welcome to come check it out anytime, buddy.
All right. And it's going to be nearest to the beach. Is that correct?
Yes. So the one I'm moving to Florida, yes, is right there. My wife, she's a physician, and she just signed a contract with the hospital in the local town on the beach. And I used to live in Puerto Rico. I know I told you a lot about this. Some of the best times of my life was living in Puerto Rico. And ever since then, I've missed the rhythm of the water, and there's something about living by the ocean that's just really healthy for your mental health. And, I'm really looking forward to it. So when I found out there's a contract here, I was like, hey, we got to hop on this. And thankfully it looks like everything's going through, and we'll be there in the next couple of weeks.
Nice. Well, if you have some people showing up at your door wanting to go to the beach, you'll know where that came from. Sure. I also have another question. So here's something else that I've done. You are an AI enthusiast. You love generative AI. You love different technologies. I went out a little bit ago to Watson X, to the chat feature. I'm using the Granite 13 billion parameter chat model. I gave it a little bit of information about what I'm going to do today. I'm going to interview this person. I described you. I described some of your interests. I asked it to generate 5 interesting questions to ask the individual. And just to, iterate that this is, from IBM's perspective, this is AI for business. I was kind of hoping I might get some crazy answer or crazy questions to ask you, but it did not. They're very professional. So that's just a testament to IBM and their point of view on AI. So I'm going to ask you one of these questions. So as someone who enjoys traveling, what destinations have captured your imaginations recently? And how do you see the application of AI and data analytics shaping the tourism industry moving forward? It's actually a good question.
Wow, that's a really good question. I actually just recently, as you know, went to Saudi Arabia. And one of the big things about a country that's, outside the United States, outside the first world, you could say, we really undermine how developed they're becoming. And they had a lot of strong technology there. But one thing that I saw that could really help is natural language processing through AI. Just being able to translate, being able to speak. For instance, some of these models that are voice activated, you can speak into them like you would speak into Siri, and they will translate it on the other side. There were so many times where I had to, go back to speaking Urdu or Hindi or the little bit of Arabic that I know. And, I ended up just pulling out my phone anyways. But I thought, hey, if you're, a country that's really trying to bolster tourism, you should make it very easy to interact with people that work, especially at your airports and places of attraction, right? And if you just had a simple device that someone could speak into, have AI on the inside, translate it on the other side. These are things that exist today. I think that would be revolutionary. And that's one of my favorite things about AI is it's really it's going to bridge the gap between a lot of different communities because we're going to be able to, exchange ideas and information in a whole new way.
So really, it almost kind of sounds like what you're describing is the Babelfish from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that goes inside and it's able to translate and everyone's kind of speaking that same language. Not trying to get biblical or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but, I'm just saying it's when that book was written, they're probably like, no way. But
yeah, it's crazy. I know they have devices you can put in your ear. I've heard about something in your glasses. So they're out there. You just don't see it kind of like federally funded. Right. And Saudi's mostly government funded. Everything there is government funded. Everything's government owned. Saudi government, shout out, loved it there. I definitely didn't realize how much we have in similar, but also how different it is. It's a completely different world. But man, they have great food. People are very hospitable. There's zero crime, obviously, because of the harsh punishments for crime. So love what you guys are doing. But if you're trying to attract more tourists, definitely want to include some AI into that interaction.
Yeah, I think that is some great advice. And, just kind of speaking of that part of the world, as you establish, you're getting ready to move to Florida and currently you're in or near Atlanta, yes. Georgia. But, as we've talked before, you are a first generation immigrant. Your parents moved here and they were from Pakistan, correct?
Yes. So my dad came here when he was in 8th grade and my mom came here when she married my dad. But yes, I'm the first generation. I was born and raised. I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, lived most of my life in Georgia, a little bit in Wisconsin, ended up moving back to Indiana for high school, graduated high school there, joined the military, became a Cav Scout in the National Guard, originally supposed to be Indiana, but I was already in Fort Benning for Cav Scout training and my parents moved to Georgia. And because I was 17 at the time, this is a huge tangent, but I was 17 at the time when I joined the military, my parents were able to switch my state of residence. So fun fact, I actually moved to Georgia from high school and had no idea that I moved to Georgia. I actually thought I was going to college in Indiana. I found out after I came out of Fort Benning that, hey, by the way, you don't live in Indiana anymore. You live in Georgia.
So, and for everyone listening, the first thing that happens when you move to Georgia is they teach you that dogs is spelled DAWGS, not DOGS.
Absolutely. So, absolutely.
Not my team, but just saying.
Oh, all right. Team.
So on this podcast, I love the idea of talking about technology, about career journeys, and we can definitely get back to that. I would like to just kind of, maybe throw you off a little bit, come up with some additional random questions, just kind of see how it goes. So what would you say is your spirit animal? Or depending on or maybe if you were to produce a Patronus from Harry Potter, what animal would that be? Those could be one and the same.
What a Patronus is, so I'll stick to the spirit animal.
All right, fair enough.
I think it's depending on who you ask and the time of day. But that's a really good one. What was my spirit animal? I don't know, man. I really like gorillas. I think they're, super humble, super beautiful. And I love the leadership qualities, but I also like kind of the rage, the inner rage, the brutality within. And, as someone who joined the military, I obviously have a little rage in me, but I like to remain calm. So unless it's needed to, do the right thing, I tend to stay pretty humble. So I'll have to go with the silverback gorilla on this one.
All right. I think that's a fair answer. And, I honestly wouldn't have suspected there was a lot of rage. You're pretty chill and calm. So there you go.
I try to be at work, man. Come on.
Well, That's true. All right. So, we talk about career, we talk about career journeys, what you currently do today, but kind of on the lighter side of things, there's no cap here. You can say one, you can say more, but just kind of interested in maybe a funny story that you'd like to share from your career or even from your time in the National Guard. It doesn't necessarily have to be from career. I guess that, that's career, but I'm just saying not necessarily like your employment career. You know what I'm saying? Like your big companies.
The military has a lot of funny stories, and honestly, my career outside of the military is a lot longer than my career inside the military. Right? That was a little shorter than I would have liked, but that's a whole nother story for a different day. But I'm trying to think, man. A lot of funny stories, man. People do dumb stuff in the Army barracks. I can tell you that. A lot of stuff may not be safe for work. So, I always tell people that webcam story where I joined a call and a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, we just recently met at a workshop, but she had gotten on the call and she was in her pajamas and got right back in bed. And I can understand, taking a call from bed, but you never want to be on a call on camera and that happen in front of your boss. A little bit funny, but also kind of scary because you'll definitely lose your job for something like that. So don't want to do that. But we, in hindsight, we laugh at it.
Yeah, that's definitely some great career advice, especially for those who maybe entered their professional career during the COVID era and everything was, webcam, work from home based. So be careful about your webcam. If you're going to lay in bed, make sure it's off. Probably don't lay in bed, but.
Fun fact, for my entire professional career has been post-COVID in IBM. So before that, I was at State Farm, but then I also left State Farm for a year to go back to school at Georgia Tech. But yeah, I'm a COVID pro. That's what I am. I'm COVID hire. I started in March 20th, 2020. And if you guys remember, I think the day COVID hit was like 13th, 14th. So I love it. I actually don't even know anything beside it. I've kind of perfected the webcam game, but Josh, I don't always like being on camera, especially when I'm hard at work.
Well, for those who are watching this on YouTube opposed to listening to this, he is on webcam. He's looking very nice. He's got his nice jacket on along with IBM shirt. So if you're only listening to audio, you're missing out.
I'm here with DataNerdJosh. He's got his brand. I got to get my brand. I got to keep it on brand.
Yeah. So you have like the very professional. You got the nice slick back hair. I'm just like, I'm a bald dude from Alabama. I got this crazy accent. And I'm going to talk about video games and toy cars and make funny videos. So, there's
too many brown guys with slick backs, man. There's not enough white bald guys.
Oh, there are plenty of white bald guys. I already interviewed another one this morning.
That's funny. No, hey, that comes to show. I don't necessarily like being on camera, but I'm coming on camera for you, man. So
I appreciate that, and the people, anyone who watches this, the video version, they'll appreciate that as well. Because if we were just talking to the little blank, dude, it wouldn't be quite as fun, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, I can appreciate it, especially for something like this. Face to face is way more beneficial. And when I say don't like being on camera, you know what I mean. For the 9 internal meetings back to back, if I'm working on some deep work, I'm not necessarily doing in my 3-piece suit, right?
Yeah, for those listening, like obviously you're joining a call with a client. That's different than, like you said, back to back internal meetings where it's, those are different beasts, right? So
this is literally what I wear. So client meeting, in person, virtual. This is literally like it's in my closet, client facing outfit. Think t-shirt, keep it branded with a nice blazer. That's how I roll. And I like to wear the same thing every time. And I thought this was just a little psychological trick, but it actually works. People will remember you if you wear the same thing. So I've had clients come up to me and be like, hey, I saw you at this event 3 years ago. You wear the same damn thing. So I can definitely know it's you. And it does work. So I love what you're doing, Josh. Keep that brand up. I know I
appreciate it.
Spot that head from a mile away.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember the conversation we had recently, because I think you were telling me, like, since I've been posting stuff on LinkedIn, YouTube, et cetera, and my bald head is, I don't think those are your exact words, but since my bald head is out there, it's like part of the brand. You're like, well, you can't let that hair grow out now. And I'm like, dude, I couldn't if I tried. Like this is, I could let it a little bit. But I mean, this is what it is, right? So, and there are pros here. There are pros here.
Yeah, there's definitely some pros, right? You never got to do your hair. You never got to worry about what it's looking like. You can always hop on camera. You're always on brand. Like what happens if I want to grow my hair out? There goes my brand. If I want to shave the beard, there goes the brand. Or, sometimes it's not a choice.
Exactly. I mean, this is not common, but in the past, I have, very quickly joined a meeting. I'm like, oh no, I got to go hop on that call, turn on my webcam. No one knows. I look the same, right? As far as
out of bed, going to bed is
it's the same. So if I get in a car, roll the window down, it doesn't matter. I wear a hat all day, take it off, it doesn't matter. I look the same. If I'm taking family photos, I'll look the same in every family photo now for 7 years or whatever.
All the time, guys. You got all the ball guys on lock, right? I saw your Tobias outfit. That was a good one, man.
So for anyone listening who is interested, if you go, for those who have watched the show Arrested Development and are aware, if you go to the Arrested Development subreddit, I don't know, I haven't been on there in a long time. I think it might be one of the top posts on that subreddit of all time. Is a picture of my wife and I at Dragon Con, which takes place in Atlanta. This was 2016-ish, and I dressed as Tobias from that show, painted myself blue, wearing the cutoff jean shorts.
It was a spitting image. I'm telling you, you would have thought like the actual Tobias from Arrested Development.
I appreciate that. That's a compliment. It's also not a compliment because like people think Tobias, they're not like, oh, look at that sexy man. They're like, oh yeah, look at that man. But
Don't say that, man. You're good looking though. Hey, your wife's a lucky one, man. Your wife's a lucky one. I'm the lucky one, but I appreciate that. Yeah, and for the record, and I'm not going to grab, but like I actually keep a couple pullovers in my office. So if there's like a meeting, I'm like, oh, I need something, I have like some bland color, like a black quarter zip, throw that bad boy on and you're ready to rock and roll. Between that and not having to fix my hair, like I'm ready to roll at any time. Dude, the best thing tech did was lose the collar. Once we lost the collar, I mean, man's so much more efficient. Before I had to worry about the tie and get pressed. Don't get me wrong, I love to dress up, I love to look good. But in a day of a life of sales, it's all about the little minutes and the seconds.
Right.
Called.
Yeah, I've talked to some of I don't necessarily want to call them old timers, but let's just call them old timers. At my previous employer, people have been there for a long time, and you're like, man, I remember when I had to come to work every day, suit, jacket, tie, hat, and I'm just like, man, that's a bit much. I mean, I understand times are different, but whew.
Yeah. And I mean, also the commute. I mean, people, I don't know how people commuted so much, man. Even when we were talking on that call a couple of weeks ago, and Matt was saying, it takes an hour and a half train and then an Uber. It's like 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back, 5-hour commute for an 8-hour day. I was like, man, that's rough. But hey, I guess if the price is right,
Right. So my previous employer was Blue Cross Blue Shield Tennessee, which is here in Chattanooga. I went there very early on in my career. I spent 14 years there, and I would say 11, 12 years of that. Most of that was spent in the office. It was just the last, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years, whenever COVID happened in relation to my timeline. So that was my work from home. And, there was a time before all that happened that some people started working there were people on my team who did work from home, and people started kind of transition. Maybe they worked from home a couple of days. And I remember thinking like, oh man, I couldn't do that. I couldn't work from home. I don't think I could do that. Really? Then we got sent home for, I'm putting in air quotes, a couple of weeks and we'll be back, which it turned into forever. And then I fell in love with it. I'm like, man, this is fantastic. Because I mean, like you said, that commute, you don't have to worry about it. I didn't have a long commute, but still it's a commute. And it's also getting into the parking garage or the parking lot. It's walking up. You get there and you sit down, you're about to get busy doing something. Well, here comes so-and-so coming over to your cubicle and they want to chat with you. Now you've lost 30 minutes of your day, and then your buddy wants to go get coffee. Like, obviously, I miss the fellowship. I miss the camaraderie, but I feel like I'm able to be more effective. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I feel like studies have shown people are probably getting a lot more work done because,
I mean, work isn't everything, right? And a lot of times one, don't get me wrong, I'm 100% grateful for working from home, right? Every time I get a little upset about my life or about what's going on during the day, I just take a step back, take a deep breath. I'm like, I'm sitting at home. I'm making a decent money, and I'm working with really smart people and really hard problems. It's I'm very, very grateful because it's something that I worked very hard to get to this point, right? So I never let that kind of go away. But the biggest thing about working from home is just work isn't everything. It's a big part, and that's why you should enjoy what you do. But just being able to, have lunch with the family, go downstairs, ask my mom how her day's going, walk outside with my dog for 5 minutes, or even just take a walk. I think it's invaluable, right? And I can understand the camaraderie. Maybe I'm a loner. I do spend a lot of time in my cave here, so I'm not too keen on camaraderie, unless it's on the weekends and during off times. But I think the pros outweigh the cons, and
absolutely.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a massive increase in efficiency. I mean, just talk about that technology curve, right? They were talking about digital transformation projects taking 10 years before COVID. After COVID, they're taking 10 months. I think a lot of that had to do with people not wasting a lot of time in the bitter batter back and forth at work, or wasting their time in commuting. They were just getting work done, and people found out you could be a lot more efficient. Who knew you could get most of everything done without a meeting in person and just an email?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and from my perspective, my office is, I go up to the top level of my house, and here I am. So that's my commute. It's 30 seconds. Same. And so before, if I was waking up at whatever time I was waking up, I could still wake up at that same time. But instead of having to take all the time to get completely ready like I normally would, I just walk up the stairs, turn on my MacBook. I'm ready to rock and roll. And the company is getting X amount of more time, and I don't have to get home in time for dinner. It's more of like, dinner's ready. Let me walk down the stairs. Let me wrap up what I'm doing. I mean, but then like you said, in the middle of the day, you have that fantastic time. I mean, my kids don't know any different. When my oldest son was born pre-COVID, but as he got, he was approaching 3 when everything happened. He wasn't quite 3 yet. So from his perspective, well, he really remembers I've been home. And my youngest, that's all he knows. Yeah. So, I mean, I do, of course, we do travel from time to time. There is that. So, I mean, and that is something that's new because I didn't do that before. But, that's what they know. That's what they're used to. But I mean, I love it. I'm able to, if my wife needs help with something, my kids need help with something, we're able to go downstairs, do that, then come back. Or if I need to take a little bit longer lunch today and we're going to do something together, I got to go run a quick errand. I'm going to get a coffee from a place I really like that's right down the road. I got to do that, come back. You just so much more flexibility, but you're not losing productivity.
Yeah. And you're not getting burnt out. I mean, I feel like, you go into office every single day. A lot of people get burnt out. And, when you work from home, especially in our profession in sales, it's you kind of reap what you sow, right? So if you want to work hard, you can work hard. If you don't want to work hard, you can not work hard, go on a PIP, get fired, right? No one's gonna make you do it. So you have a lot of control over your own life, and I love that, And I think also it's just what was that I was gonna say is not just the efficiency. I'll come back to that point, but there's something about I can't remember. It just ran out of my mind, right? But another reason why I'm really grateful, and I'll come back to it when I can think of it. But yeah, man. Let me ask you some questions, man, since we've been talking.
I didn't know I was going to get questions.
Right? I feel like people are just going to be like, man, these guys just got on a WebEx and just started going crazy.
I mean, that's the idea, right?
Okay. I feel like we're good. I'm a good guinea pig. So hopefully, these get a lot better in the future. But so what are some,
and also this doesn't mean this is one and done. This may be part one. You know what I'm saying?
Who's going to do your 500th podcast, man? It's going to be me, and I'm going to, hopefully by then we're calling bigger shots and we're sitting in bigger places and we're doing a lot better. My work from home thing just came back to me. I also have this super amazing setup at home, right? I got my Batman custom chair. I got my 2 monitors. I got my lighting, my desk. I got everything set up the way I want. I think
you can't do that in a cubicle.
Right? You can't do it in a cubicle. It just makes it, I don't know. It's crazy. When I sit in this seat, I'm like sitting in, Star Trek Enterprise in the cockpit. I'm the captain, and it's just a good feeling, man. I enjoy it. We're blessed, Josh.
Boldly go where no generative AI nerd has gone before.
Exactly, right. And I don't know, even with the AI now, sometimes I feel like I got a lot going on. I really enjoy it. I don't know if you've seen some of these newer models coming out, man. They are powerful. They are powerful. And now they're getting to the point where, some companies are talking about installing an agent on your own laptop. That's going to be really cool, right? A little scary, but they already know everything. What are you going to hide from them? So might as well let them scan your laptop.
Right.
So say, hey, grab this file, do that. Just little things. A lot of people outside of technology, just not being able to navigate correctly on a MacBook or a Windows PC, they just turn off the technology entirely. Imagine when you can just walk up to a laptop, press a button, and tell it what to do. I feel like you're going to see this floodgate of people who are non-technical, who've always been turned off by technology because of the simple barriers to operate with it. You're going to see them flood in, right? And I'm hoping, man, that's really going to, that may not make too much of a difference where we're at, but I know from back home, Pakistan, third world countries, that's huge, right? They may not have the infrastructure, but you can find an internet connection. And when you bring that barrier to entry down, hopefully it's going to help develop most of the third world.
Yeah, I think that's something really important to think about all the time, is just the different levels that people are at. Because I feel like you kind of get stuck at like this. These are the things I know. So it's almost like you think, well, I know these things. I know how to navigate and do this. But, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. And I try to remind myself a lot of that in general. Like not everyone knows these certain things or how to do these things.
Not everyone even cares.
They don't care.
I'm over here like, oh my gosh, we're living in the craziest times, and there's so much innovation going on. And I said this to Anthony, our manager, last week at our event. I was like, man, I had just given a speech on AI, and even just after giving the speech, I shared a couple of videos. One of them was a newer video that just came out, and you can look it up. It's the ex-CEO of Google, Mike Schmidt. He gives a nice little 30-minute talk about what's going on in AI, and it's eye-opening because you're hearing from someone at the very top. And it even blew me away a little bit. And I sat down next to Anthony. I was like, man, what a time to be alive, man. It's just so much innovation so much going on. He's like, man, it's always a crazy time to be alive. There's always something new out here. There's always something, someone breaking some barrier. When they were playing with fire, some guy was packing it up and figuring out gunpowder. Some guy was messing around with the wagon wheel. He figured out how to get a motorized vehicle. It's just like these leaps have always been around. And I just find it kind of opened my eyes like, oh man, we're not so special. Sometimes we think, oh, we're the greatest generation alive. No, there's always big change coming. But what I like is having that passion and that desire. It's just, I don't know, it's a rejuvenating, it's a fulfilling feeling, right? When you have something to look forward to, something to get excited about. A lot of people look at some of this tech and like, oh, it's the end of the world. Market is coming out.
People thought the internet was the end of the world.
Right?
They thought
it's always the end of the world in some way. And don't get me wrong, I'm a prepper. I got my dried food and and some extra ammo. Just because anything could happen, but I'm not sitting here at the edge of my seat waiting for the sky to fall. Right? I think humanity has made it this far, and hopefully we'll come out the other end of this as well. And if we don't, well,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, right? It is what it is, right?
Yeah, and there earlier in what you were saying, there was something that you hit on that I wanted to circle back to. You used the word passion, and I just kind of wanted to jump back to that because I think that's extremely key, for both of us. Because I feel like both of us, when we think of our clients, we think about the products we support, we think about kind of the use cases, the things we're trying to solve. I feel like both of us have that passion, and I think that's actually very important in the role that we have. I mean, in general, in career in general, I think people latch onto that and recognize that. I mean, like for me personally, I feel like if I didn't have, if I feel like if I didn't join IBM and show that I have this passion for these products, for IBM itself, for these different things, like I don't feel like my career in the past year would be the exact same as it is today. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
No, I agree, man. People buy passion sells. Okay. And people get behind people who are passionate. You could just look at a prime example. You have someone who's trying to sell you a car. One guy knows everything about this car inside and out. He's been working with this car his entire life. He himself is a believer in the car. Everything about the car. He loves it. He can't hold his tongue at dinner without talking about this car. Right. Are you going to buy that car, or are you going to buy from the guy who's like, hey man, this is 20 grand. It's a 4-wheel drive. You're going to get it from the other guy. Even if it's the same vehicle, same price. It's just there's something about that passion that draws people in. It's very important. In sales, you have to be passionate. If you're not passionate about your product, and I'm not saying every product's perfect, guys. I'm not going to tell you that every product works flawlessly and there's no kinks, there's no bugs. We saw what happened last week with CrowdStrike and Microsoft, right? Anything could happen at any time. No product is safe. But when you kind of zoom out, you that's where the passion comes from. The passion doesn't come from these individual products. It's what all these products are about. They're about innovation. They're about cutting edge technology. When that excites you, and then you're also competitive naturally, you like a challenge. You like doing hard things. That's all passionate stuff, and that passion really plays a lot in our role, right? I know a lot of sellers go to the gym. A lot of sellers eat healthy. Don't get me wrong. There's the other side. There's coffee and cigarettes for breakfast. But when you're really pushing to the top of your game, you start really perfecting all of your life, all your other things, because you're not just passionate about the technology. You're passionate about living a healthy lifestyle. You're passionate about performing at a higher level. You're passionate about being the best, and all that. Put that behind sales. Well, now you're a passionate salesman, right?
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily
absolutely.
passionate about sales. I'm just passionate about doing the hard things in life, overcoming it, which is a lot. Another quote from Anthony, our great leader. Sales is an inefficient game. If you love winning every single time, you're going to hate sales. You're going to talk to a lot of people, and those people, not everyone's going to buy from you, unless you're selling something like iPhones that, or something B2C that everyone needs. It's going to be tough. Just look at prospecting, right? We'll send out 1,000 customized, interesting, hook grabbing, call to action emails, perfection, right? And not get a single reply. Does that mean we stop prospecting? Absolutely not. We move on to the next 1,000, right? But if you don't have that passion to kind of just
it's easy to get burnt out.
Yeah. It's easy to get burnt out. Yeah, that passion's everything. And it's contagious, right? Like, I love working with you. I don't like working with everybody. I'm mostly a solo worker, to be honest. You know me, OCD, perfectionist. I don't really like, I like to work on a team, but I like to kind of lead the way on a lot of these things. But I like to lean on you a little bit because you have that same passion, right? You're kind of that person who's like, all right, you're not going to just get burnt out after an hour of things going wrong, right? You're going to keep trying, you're going to keep pushing, and you're going to make sure you do the best regardless of the outcome. And those are the people you want to buy from, the people you want to be around, the people you want to work with, and it's key. And if you have a hard time developing that passion, I'll give every young person one tip: start with fitness. Just start doing the reps. Start with the consistency, the discipline. Waking up every morning and going to the gym is one of the hardest things you can ever do. Like, most people can't do that. They can't do that. So if you're lost, you don't know what you want to do in life, you know what profession you want to have, you don't know if you're going to go into sales or tech, whatever, just wake up every morning and go to the gym. If you can do that, I guarantee you'll be successful. If you can do that consistently over years of time, I guarantee you'll be successful.
Yeah, and then that'll trickle into the rest of your life. You'll start applying that to everything else.
Yeah, and it'll be fueled for your passion. You'll feel better, and you'll realize you're capable of more, and you'll push. And that's that kind of fire behind you. I know a lot of people, Josh, they might see this. Most of humanity is not going to see this. Let's be honest, right?
Right.
Nobody really cares, and that's okay. But for someone who cares enough to get to this point of the podcast, and you're looking for like a piece of golden nugget of like how you can change your life, start with fitness. That's my too long to read.
No, yeah, no, I think that's great career advice, and I think that's important to have in here in this podcast. I mean, because it's not just about what you've done; it's about what you've done, what you've seen that could help others, help someone young, or help someone who's stuck in a rut, or whatever the case may be. And I think that passion is key. And from our perspective, from software sales, I think what's also key is the focus should be on the client. You're trying to help them solve a problem. You're trying to help them save money. You're trying to help them save time. So putting that focus on them, like, less focus on, I just want to sell you something and move on. It's really focusing on them. And that's something to me that's also interesting that a lot of people do not consider about for ours, even though it's a pre-sales type role. You still have those client relationships. You're still in contact with those people. You can still be a point of contact and help them after the fact. You can still get a ticket that comes in, you can jump in and help them, point them in the right direction. It doesn't end once that sales cycle ends. And I think that's something that people need to know, because that's not something I think everyone thinks about.
Your relationships will follow you. And this can be a good thing and a bad thing. right? In sales. And remember, it's this book of business that you're building, your LinkedIn, your small, contacts on your iPhone. In the future, you're going to run into these people, right? These people work in tech, you work in tech, you're going to crisscross again. And when you do, everyone around them is going to know, hey, this is a great guy. He's a great seller. He knows his stuff. Or they're going to know, hey, this is a lazy piece of shit. Right. And you're not going to be, you're either going to, bear you're going to reap the fruit that you sowed before, or, you're going to have the damages. So definitely relationships follow you, and it's important to have.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's also just so key to be good to people, treat them right. So even, if you're the person who, like me, I don't know all the answers, I don't know all the things, but if someone asks me that question, I'm going to be good to that person, but I'm also going to do my best to help them out. I'm going to go find the answer or point them in the direction of the person who does. I would rather be that person than the person who does know everything, but they give you the response in an awful way, or they're unresponsive. They don't want to help you out. I mean, I think it's great to know everything if you're that SME or that guru, but you have to be able to present that information, present those answers, and then help the client, help that person at the end of the day.
For sure. A person who comes off as they know everything loses immediate credibility, right? A person who asks questions, that's a person that actually gains credibility. So,
right. I mean, the way I see it is everything at some point in time, you didn't know. Mm-hmm. Right. And how did you learn that? You either sought it out yourself, or you asked a question, whatever the case may be. So, people say there are no dumb questions, and that's an interesting statement. We could argue that one, but that I think people should be encouraged to ask questions, even if it makes them quote unquote look dumb or whatever you want to call it, because you're trying to learn. It's not because you're trying to derail a meeting or whatever. Like, you're trying to understand.
Absolutely.
I ask questions all the time. There's plenty I don't know.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things about IBM. It's just one of those places where I've never really gotten a no from somebody, right? I may have had that, soft shoulder, hey, I'm a little too busy for this right now, which happens because people are experts. If they're worldwide renowned, you're not going to be at the top of their list for, figuring out an acronym. But I've really never had anyone who's denied me help and hopped in right away to, help me out with whatever I need help with. But I've also never denied anybody. And I think that's one of my favorite things at IBM is just the resources you have. Like you said, the stuff you don't know, the stuff you once didn't know, you're going to be in the room with a lot of smart people if you're working at an organization like this. That is what you're taking outside of your paycheck, right? All the questions you ask is the tidbit on top, and all the help you give, I promise you, will come back an opportunity, right? All the opportunities you're going to get outside of your immediate career. Right. If you've done 20 years and you're obviously supposed to go to the director level, you're going to the director level. I'm not talking about that kind of opportunity. I'm talking about, hey, that extra speaking engagement, that extra contract, that extra, just employment opportunity that you might get in the future. That's going to happen when you lead with helping people. When you lead with, hey, if you're constantly denying people, no. If you're constantly trying to help people, eventually it's going to come back to you. And I mean, I couldn't be more grateful. I think most of the opportunity that I've seen outside of just my immediate day-to-day job has come out of just, hey, let me help you out, And I enjoy it. It's such a great feeling. Like, even coming on this podcast, I hate being on camera. I'm doing it for you, but I'm having a great time, right? And I'm sure I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna be glad I did something like this, just to help a brother out who's starting off, right?
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate it, and obviously for both of us, if someone listens to this at some point, whether it's shortly after it's published or later down the road, hopefully they'll pull something from it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get an email one day. It's like, man, something that Muta guy said that really helped me out. I've been going to the gym. I got swole, and now my career is going great. We don't know, and that would be amazing.
No, for sure. I definitely hope so. I enjoy this sort of thing, and I think this sort of thing is really eye opening. When I was starting off in my career, this sort of conversation is what I would look for, and I would learn a lot from. Outside of having people actually watching us live and having the ability to Q&A, which might be something you want to do in the future, man. Record a podcast, have an audience, conduct it live, record it, publish it, and then have a little Q&A at the end. I think that'd be great. But this is good. This is good stuff, man. I'm glad you're doing this.
I appreciate that.
Believe it or not, guys, our schedules are actually packed, and Josh is got one of the most packed schedules, and he's on top of that packed schedule, taking his time out of his Friday afternoon to record, edit, publish this sort of stuff. So,
and I have another one.
a lot.
And here, I have another interview here in a little bit today. So,
Well, there you go. I actually got another call I'm a little late for, but keep this going. We can come back, man, whatever you want.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. So for those listening for this podcast, we're gonna go ahead and end here in a minute. I don't want to make Muta late for his next any more late for his next meeting than he already is, and I have another meeting in about 20 minutes, so I'll give me time to get ready for that because I'll have another interview with a different guest, also an IBMer as well. But nice. My commitment to everybody is we will circle back at some point. We will have another conversation, and we can maybe pick a topic and go a little more in depth on that particular. Maybe career advice is a good one, just to kind of go back and forth. I feel like we did a lot of that already, but maybe I have one dedicated to that or something like that. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff we could still unpack around your experience with generative AI. Just, I know you're a Bitcoin guy. There's a lot of stuff we didn't get into, fighter pilots. So
get into Gen AI tools, man. I got a list of tools that I've used.
Yeah, and I know you said you had questions for me as well, which we didn't get to, and that's fine. This is this is your time. So
if someone in the audience that's listening or watching this, you have questions, comment, on whatever you're watching and let us know. I'm sure Josh will take that into account in the future. Take some questions from the audience and see what people want to hear. Just so we're not, having too much fun.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna bring this thing in for a landing. So appreciate anyone who made it to this point for listening. Also, of course, thank you for Muta for taking the time out of his day to chat with me. It's been awesome as always, and we are going to. I'm making that commitment. We are going to come back at some point, do another one. I don't know the exact date. We are going to do it. We'll find a topic. Maybe we'll have a series. Maybe we'll have a couple. We will definitely do that because I think we have a good chemistry here. We have a lot of fun, and I think we could have some more fun episodes. But for everyone listening, thank you for taking the time and the support. Support means everything. And any closing comments here, and from you, and then I'll end the recording.
Sure. No, man. Josh, it's been an honor and privilege. I really appreciate you. Thank you for everyone listening. Really support Josh, DataNerdJosh. Follow him on all his platforms. He's just starting off, but I guarantee he's going to be a superstar one day. You don't want to miss out on any information. And if anyone does need help with anything, whether it's career advice, whether it's just, any general questions, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. That's MutaChaudhry. You can see it here in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to help, guys. I'm constantly giving out my referral link. You're trying to find out about certification opportunities. I'm publishing those as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out. But Josh, like I said, honor and privilege, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Till next time.
Peace. All right. Stop that recording, brother. Peace. Let's get a good